What's up, everyone? Darkscream 217 here, and it's been a long time since I uploaded a video. There's a reason and a half for that. Half of the reason is I wanted to upload a video early this week, but I got hit with Hurricane Isaac slash Tropical Storm Isaac, so I was really in no position to vlog. However, everything is fine now. Everything in my town seems to be a-okay, so nothing to worry about there. The full reason is that for the past 2 weeks, I've put a lot of time into, well, the title says it right there. I put a lot of time into a video game called Persona 4 for the PlayStation 2. Not Persona 4 Arena, though I own that game and I've already talked my first impressions of it, and my thoughts on the game still remain the same. I love the hell out of it. But, because I like Persona 4 Arena so much, I actually did go back and give Persona 4 a chance. And while Persona 4 had almost everything that would be in the game that would cause me to hate it, not only do I really like this game, but it's my favorite JRPG that I've ever played. And I've played a handful. I'm not a big JRPG fan. I just really never got into the turn-based system. I really never cared for the characters or the story or anything about that. Nothing about most JRPGs held my interest. But this game, on the other hand, did catch my interest on a few things. Alright, for those who don't know what Persona 4 is, if you haven't really gave the game a chance yet, or if you're more behind than I am, it's obviously the fourth installment of a series of RPGs from a meta series called the Shin Megami Tensei series, or the Megami Tensei series, or Mega 10 for short. I don't know much about the rest of the SMT series. I know there was a bunch of games like Nocturne, Digital Devil Sagas 1 and 2, Devil Summoner, Devil Survivor. I got a basic understanding of all the game, well, not all of the games, but what the games were and what series they belong from a Clear and Confusion episode. I'll post a link in the description if you guys don't know what I'm talking about. But in this game, it's Pokemon meets Final Fantasy meets a visual novel. The Pokemon part comes in with the personas in the game. They're basically like alter egos of some of the characters and party members that they summon, and they have like special abilities and powers and all that stuff. And the main character that you always play as, the nameless protagonist that you get to name and yourself, because this game actually has more of a... It has... Another thing I really do not like about JRPGs is that you're kind of forced to play as a protagonist with a character, a personality, goals, and objectives, whereas most Western RPGs you actually play as a character with objectives and stuff, but they're always... You give them a name, they're always voiceless, unless of course you count Mass Effect 3's Commander Shepard. But at least with Commander Shepard, you're given decisions and stuff, dialogues that kind of reflect your choices and stuff. And I did not really like that about most JRPGs. But in Persona 4, you do play as a character who moves into this little rural town called Inaba, and he's from the big city. Right in the middle of some strange, bizarre murders that, and then he later in this game, you learn about something called the Midnight Channel, where the TV would magically appear on itself on its own on a rainy night at midnight, and the rumor was originally meant to be about, they thought you could see their loved ones or something on the TV, but actually ties in with the murder mystery later on the game. I'm trying not to spoil the rest of the game because obvious reasons. I do want to encourage other people to check this game out. And this is, like I said, this is coming from a guy who's not a big fan of JRPGs, so it's saying a lot when I say, damn, I love this game. Anyways, later on in the game, Apparently, they can actually the characters can actually enter through the TV through another world. Um, and that's where they can summon their personas in the game, and they can like do special abilities, and they basically do any basic RPG skills. They got physical attacks, elemental attacks, wind, fire, ice, etc., etc., and even buffers and debuffers and all that jazz. And the main protagonist, well, the rest of the party team gets one persona, and then they can actually evolve it when I mention the visual novel aspect of the game later on. But the main protagonist can actually switch personas, can even switch different personas in between, in the middle of in combat, which is where I think the Pokemon element kicks in more. But you can actually earn different personas after winning a battle, or you can fuse personas together to get a more powerful, rare persona. And I actually really love that part of the game. I just love collecting personas, mixing them up to get a more powerful one, and hoping that there'll be great use of me in future battles. The Final Fantasy part kicks in because most of it is a turn-based RPG, and from what I heard about Final Fantasy 13 is that the AI, you can actually, there's like an auto command where you don't control all of your party members, and they actually can fight on their own. You didn't have to give them commands or anything, but Persona 4 has that. But since I don't like leaving the fate in the hands of a bunch of computer-controlled AI, you have the option to control them directly, and I always do that. The combat itself is, I'm just not a big fan of turn-based RPGs. I really am not. I never liked the gameplay in it. I do like the idea of having a little more control over my characters rather than just giving them commands. But it's good gameplay. It really is. They don't have a random encounter system in it. In fact, the way you encounter enemies is kind of reminds me of Tales of Symphonia, another JRPG that I actually played back when I owned a Nintendo GameCube. They have like a little enemy running around the dungeon, and if you like confront it or attack it, you go straight into the gameplay, and then you face some sort of random boss depending on the size of that monster. If the monster's really big, then you may have yourself a challenge. If the monster's tiny, you'll be able to finish it off in less than one turn. And in between the battles, you actually travel through a floor-based dungeon system, which kind of reminds me of some of the older school RPGs. And you can run around, you fight the monsters, you unlock chests, obtain items, traverse through the map, and certain dungeons you can just go through the floors, or there are certain times where you actually have to like find a particular item in order to progress. And the dungeons are pretty unique. Well, all the floors are very similar to each other except for the layouts. But each dungeon has like a unique theme to it, and I would tell you what each themes are, but like I said, I'm trying not to give too much of the game away for people who haven't played it, and maybe I can get them to change their minds and give it a chance like I have. Now here's where the visual novel parts kick in. The entire game is not a dungeon crawler turn-based RPG where you collect monsters, or aka the personas. A good chunk of the game is dedicated to, get this, you go to high school, and you socialize with other characters, your party members, and a couple of side characters. And through this, you level up something called social links. And what they do is that the higher the social link, the more experience you can gain for when you summon a new fused persona. Each social link depends on, certain personas have arcanas to them, like the Fool, the Magician, the tower, and each side character that you have a social link with represents a particular arcana. For example, Yosuke Hanamura, he represents the magician arcana, and if you raise social links with him, when you summon magician arcanas, they'll be able to gain levels and probably some new skills along the way when you fuse to make a magician arcana persona. Oh, and your main character has some like social link stats that, depending on what rank it is, you can actually you're actually able to access certain dialogue. Like, you have courage, understanding, diligence, and knowledge. There's another one. Understanding, courage, diligence, knowledge. Can't remember what the other ones are, but you can level them up by like reading books in the evening, or hell, answering questions correct in class. That's right. You are given a series of questions to ask in the middle of high school, and you have to answer them correctly. And the subjects do diverse. You got English-based questions, you got history-based questions. You know, on pen and paper, this sounds like a pretty bad game, but I actually love this more than the dungeon crawling parts of the game itself. And then after school, you get to talk to one of the side characters and get a social link up, and then you have to like choose certain dialogue or whatever, and hopefully the social link will raise. And when you max out the social links, you do get the ability to summon a new persona. Well, you have the ability to do so, but you don't get that persona right away. You still have to like find out how to summon it. And you probably aren't a high enough level. Most of the personas I've encountered were like most of the max social link personas I've encountered range from like the late level 60s to like the early level 80s. And most of the social link aspects of the game, the non-dungeon crawling parts of the game, where you either socialize or spend time reading a book or increasing your knowledge, or anything of that matter, they last a while in the game, because they space out the story parts of the game, the Midnight Channel segments of the game, pretty far apart. So in between, and the game is set on. Game has a set calendar. You start off around April 2011 for basically almost the entire year, and like I said, that's another thing. The game is rather slow paced. I'm not gonna lie. The first part of the game doesn't pick up until like 3 hours in. Most of it, you're getting dialogue, exposition, being introduced to the first three party members, Yosuke, Chie, and Yukiko. So yeah, it's a pretty slow-paced game, and the game lasts roughly 70 hours just on the main quests alone, if you don't want to do all the side quests and stuff. And with all those parts in the game, all those elements, I thought this would be something I would hate, but to be honest, I really like them, and I like the social links, because when you do a social link with one of the characters, you get to know more about the characters, and this is not generally a bad thing. Now, if these were characters I really hated and loathed, I would not enjoy this, but here's another thing why I really like Persona 4. Almost all of the characters, all your party members, a good chunk of the side characters, I like them. Not one of them wanted me to like strangle to death. Not one of them wanted to tear my hair out because, God, this character's obnoxious. Even Teddy, the mascot bear character, I really like. I think he's funny. I think his character design is pretty unique. He kind of looks like a clown bear thing. And he makes really bad bear puns too, but that doesn't annoy me. And I think all the characters are very unique and very three-dimensional. Really like them. Again, trying not to give a lot away, but boy, man, I do like to know more about these characters, and I am kind of bummed out because I did complete the game with the true ending, but I didn't max out everyone's social link because some of them I didn't even know had a social link in until halfway into the game. And the other ones I had to discover were, yeah, they were kind of cryptic. Kanji's I thought was pretty cryptic. I thought I was going to find them at a certain spot, but it turns out you had to do something else in order to get to it. Which is why it's highly recommended that if you play this game, you talk to as many NPCs as you can, even if it does come off as pretty unimportant. And the more I think about those elements into the game, the more I realize this game does feel more like an authentic RPG. And when I say that, I mean something like D20, Dungeons and Dragons, pen and paper, dice, gameplay manuals. Sit at home with like 5 of your friends. One of them is a dungeon master. It does all that crap. It definitely feels more like one of those games because I did play a D20 pen and paper game. It was a Star Wars Old Republic game. And my character was a Keldor, you know, those orange guys with the mask looking dudes. There's a member of the Jedi Council in the prequels that was one of those characters. I think he had a golden yellow lightsaber. I was that race, and he was a martial arts guy. He was neither Jedi nor Sith. He just knew Kung Fu, and apparently he could do the same amount of damage as a lightsaber with his own fists. So, must just say I really like the character I created. But when I played that game, like for like 4 nights with my friends, we had some interesting action sequences, and we had a lot of fun too. Like it almost felt like a parody of Star Wars, really. But there were segments of the game where you would think we would just like skip over and just get straight to the plot. No, he wants to like pad out everything with every little mundane detail. Like my game master would after we're done with a mission, we go back to Coruscant stock on supplies and stuff, but each of our characters are given an individual task to do because I really couldn't think much of everything, and this is like my first time playing a game like this. All I did was like do underground pit fighting with random NPCs. I think I beat the shit out of a Wookiee once. And you know that's what the social link going to school moments remind me of. And that's why I think Persona 4 feels more like an authentic RPG. And that is all. I think that's all I have to say. Closing thoughts. I think I'm a Persona fan now. It's kind of weird because, like I said, I really never gave Persona. Like I said in my Injustice review, it turns out some unknown force wanted me to give a crap about this particular series because my friends recommended it to me. Magus asked my thoughts about it years ago and asked if I would ever be interested in it, and the answer was I wasn't entirely sure. They made an anime adaptation out of it, and I didn't bother watching it, though I was curious about it. I didn't go through with it. However, I am planning on checking out the anime once it gets released by Sentai Filmworks. And by the way, if you've seen it and have an opinion of it, please do not tell me what it is. Do not tell me if it's not as good as the game. Please. I like to go there with an open mind, with as open of a mind as possible. It might suck. I don't know. But please, let me just find out on my own. And well, but since I didn't see the anime then, they decided to make a fighting game adaptation out of it. I love the fighting game, and that's what caused me to give Persona 4 a chance. So apparently those unknown forces, I played right into their hands, and I don't care. I love this game. Seriously, I wish I could get a PS Vita just so I can buy Persona 4 the Golden. Since I heard about the extra content in the game, I thought, yeah, it's worth buying again. Oh, and I got a couple of follow-up questions, or I am going to get a couple of follow-up questions from my friends who recommended Persona 4 to me, that if I'm ever going to try out Persona 3, and here is my answer. That's my answer. I bought the game today, but I might play it like later on, maybe next week or whatever. So, that's all I have to say. Leave a comment if you wish. Darkscream 217 signing out.